Hello, Belinda here. It's been a little while since I've done a garden update, and been a while since I've actually uploaded a video. So I thought I'd bring you along in our garden to show you what we've been up to. I reckon right here. A few weeks ago, Brian and I went to the Bridgewater Nursery and we picked out a few fruit trees for an early birthday present for me. The first one we're about to plant here is a mandarin tree. We haven't had a mandarin, and we got some Japanese seedless or something. Anyway, you'll see. Now, if you've been watching for a little while, you'll notice that we do grow a lot of our own homegrown vegetables. But we do have a couple of fruit trees already. We've had them for quite a few years. We have 2 apples, a couple of plums, we've had nectarine, and a lemon that's not doing great. But we're trying to add more variety to our home orchard. Oh, it's bloody clay.
That's good bricks.
Where we live in central Victoria, a lot of the ground is clay, and clay can be really horrible to deal with because you don't want to plant your trees and then them drown with, by getting waterlogged basically. So what we're doing here is mixing some compost with the dirt that's actually come out, and that should help break that up a little bit and feed the ground. Growing our own food is really important to us, particularly nowadays, I suppose, with the cost of living. Everyone's having trouble with that. But we like to be able to preserve that and have some real goodness in the home. First one in. I wouldn't hurt put a bit more compost around the base of it, I think. The cats will love it. What I was actually trying to say was adding the compost on the top also will help feed that soil. So it should be good. Now this is out the front. We have a pear tree and a pear tree over there, but we're going to espalier them, which we really need to do soon, or it's probably going to be too late. But we've also got an old, when I say old, probably 20-year-old or so, Fuji apple. We've got a nectarine that Brian started cutting down a while back, and it's not fruiting as good now anyway. We've got to dig that out. So there's a possibility of a tree here, and we have to take this down. This bottle brush, I think. We've got more bottle brush over there, so that's fine. So it's rather cut that down, dig that out, transplant my bay leaf. Otherwise, I don't know where to put them at the moment. Should have planned this earlier, hey? I've got to prune that. So I got given another 4 heads of garlic, and I thought I really need to get this into the ground because it's going to be too late. Probably is a bit late, but it'll be okay. Our winter garden didn't quite go to plan, but I'm okay with that. Here's where I planted some parsnip, some peas and some carrots. Not parsnip, sorry, swede in this bed. But although the peas are growing, hopefully they take off more when spring's about to hit. There's a couple of carrots poking their heads through. But we'll see. Just got to be patient. Here's all the silver beet we have that's overgrown. I need to thin that out. And I'm going to plant the garlic there in the front. This little bed here has been the temporary home of our fruit trees because we bought them bare rooted. They need to have a little bit of loose compost around them. Over here is where the carrots, peas and parsnip are. And once again, they're not doing wonderfully, but with time will tell. We'll know how they go. Now over here is where we're about to plant our 2 cherry trees. There's our little mandarin, but we need to do this first. So I know we could have eaten all this silver beet, but we didn't. And a lot of the leaves have just grown so big that they're rather tough now. But the benefit of doing this, like even though we haven't eaten it, is it's actually suppressed any weeds in this garden bed. So here we are just thinning it all out, leaving the plants in there because we still want some silver beet. And there was only a couple of weeds in this little part here. But I also found some parsley that was growing in some pots, so I put them in. And then I've just put the garlic all around just randomly. I'm not sure what garlic it is. As I said, I was just given 4 heads of garlic. They're 2 different varieties. But we'll see what they are. Now we're just covering it over with some sugarcane mulch. Sugarcane mulch helps also act as a weed suppressant. Like you do get some weeds up, but it's a lot better than if you don't have it down there. But it also helps retain some moisture into the soil and to keep it a bit warmer, especially in the cold times we're in at the moment. And it also adds good organic matter to your soil. And over there's another silver beet that has grown. We don't know how or where from, but it's grown, so we need to transplant that to here. Now it's time to plant our 2 cherry trees. And we're just trying to figure out where exactly I'm going to put them. Like I know I'm going to put them along this fence line, but trying to measure out just roughly. We're coming away from the fence line a little bit because we want to be able to get a lawnmower on the other side of it to be able to keep the grass down. But just trying to space them was the bigger thing that we're trying to work out. After planting the mandarin tree, it dawned on me that we really should have added some gypsum into the hole to help break up the clay. So for these ones, we have some gypsum. As you can see, Brian started digging the first hole for the first cherry tree. And I thought, I'll just start on the second one. But Brian's like, no, hang on. I've actually measured the distance with the shovel. Yep, why not? You need something to measure with. So both holes were dug a shovel distance away from the fence. Yep, sounds good to me. At this time, our son-in-law turned up and made us a cuppa. So we had a cuppa break. But then I got back into it and I thought, I'll just keep digging my hole. Yep, this soil looks pretty good. But I thought, I'll go keep digging the hole Brian was working on too. And then realised I hit hard clay. So this hole isn't that bad. It's a bit clayey. However, this one, it's almost like rock. This one's not much better, but we'll see which is better because I don't want the roots, I don't want my tree drowning. So Brian came back from his cuppa break and I showed him the problem I'd struck. So we kept digging down with the new hole that I started and that was a lot better. So we filled in the first hole that he'd started digging. And here we are just adding some gypsum, some compost and some soil back in there as I'm putting the tree in. Because of our clay ground, we also dug with the crowbar and with the shovel, we poked a few holes into the sides of the holes, if that makes sense. That way, just to help for a little bit more drainage. And here we have it. Both our cherry trees are now in the ground. We have a compact Stella and a Lappins, I think that's how you pronounce it, Lappins cherry. We didn't have to have 2, but they are both a self-pollinating variety. At this stage, we had about an hour of daylight left I think. But I had a few bulbs that were like a lucky dip bag that we got from a nursery. And I thought, oh, where am I going to plant them? I can't plant them in the front garden because that all needs a tidy up and a remodel, basically, re-landscape. But we just got some pots that we had hanging around. I brought some compost up in the wheelbarrow and we put them all on the front veranda. So hopefully, once again, hopefully they're not planted too late. I don't think so. But we have some jonquil and some Judith tulips, which I haven't grown before, which will be interesting when they sprout and flower. By this time of day, I was tired. I was starting to ache, but I was determined to get this job done. I had no set method of how I planted these. They could be too close together. I didn't care. I just wanted to get them planted. So I don't even know what's getting planted where. I'm thinking I'm sort of alternating, but in the end, it's just, yep, that'll do. Another reason I decided to plant these on our front veranda is it's all in front of our lounge room window. Now, my elderly mother, who, often she spends a lot of time in our lounge room and loves looking out that window. So I thought by giving a nice fresh colour out there in the spring for her, she'd really enjoy them and get a lot of happiness from it. As you'll be able to see is we've just grabbed whatever pots we had hanging around and added to the front veranda because we thought, why not? It can be mix and match. Also growing out there is succulents that we transplanted from other spots in the garden. Some aren't doing that great. Some might come back in the spring. I don't know. We'll see. If they don't work, we can plant something else in there. Now that the bulbs are all planted, I wanted to give them a quick water in. We have had a bit of rain recently, but I still need to give them a quick water because, I don't know when it's going to rain again. So, quick water in, and then we'll add some mulch. So this time around, I'm using like a black pine bark, I think it is, for mulching these pots. Now, I find it's really important to mulch. I never used to mulch, not enough anyway. It does help retain moisture especially in a pot, because pots dry out a lot quicker. And it does help suppress weeds once again. And it looks really nice. I like the look of the black anyway. Now, when I first used this mulch, I was a bit worried that it might be a bit too thick for the plants to push through. But in another pot, which you'll see in a second, I've actually already put some bulbs in there. And they're already coming through. So they do find their way. They see light and they pop the little heads up and up they grow. All finished for the day. Just a quick look around the veranda to show you how it's all looking. Might look a bit bare with some of them, but they'll be sprouting through in no time. Here's Mum's Daphne that she was gifted a couple of years ago, and it's about to really bloom. Like it's sprouting, but it's ready for the Daphne flowers to open up, and they will smell amazing. And the little ladybug and snail we have that faces into the window for Eddie to have a look at because it keeps him entertained. He loves it. Now that's a day's work all complete, and we were ready to rest after this one. Thank you for watching. The next video should be when we actually collected the trees at the Bridgewater Nursery.